A passenger ferry departs with thousands on board. Just hours later, almost all vanish beneath the waves. How could the MV Doña Paz become the deadliest peacetime shipwreck in history? In 1987, ferry boats were the lifelines linking the Philippine Islands. The MV Doña Paz, a workhorse of these waters, ferried workers, families, and hopes, especially during the crowded December holidays. The ship was no luxury liner. It packed as many as it could fit, sometimes more. December travel meant thousands eager to journey home for Christmas, no matter the risk. Official regulations set strict passenger limits, but that December night, over 4,000 boarded, many squeezing aboard with no record in the manifest at all. Captain Antipolo issued the order to load. Passengers pressed onto every deck, some bribing crew, others climbed by rail, slipping unseen. The chaos would have deadly consequences. By dusk, the Doña Paz pulled away from port. The vessel groaned with weight. Families camped on open decks. Cargo and people crowded every corner. Vendors peddled snacks in jammed aisles. Crew rushed to move overloaded cargo, neglecting safety checks. Life vests were locked below, unknown to most on board. Further out, the Vector oil tanker cut a steady course carrying flammable petroleum. Its watch was understaffed and communications nearly non-functional. The Philippine Coast Guard, responsible for these busy seas, faced limited patrol resources. Weeks earlier, inspectors had checked the Doña Paz, yet glaring issues went unaddressed. Boarding complete, the Doña Paz steamed forward into night. The vessel was overloaded and safety measures barely enforced. 30 minutes before midnight, faint lights appeared on the Doña Paz bridge display. Crew assumed it was a distant fishing boat. Visibility was poor, and the captain barely glanced up. On the Vector, crew discipline was fading. At times, the bridge was left unstaffed. Watch protocols were lax. 2 vessels were now on a deadly collision course. 10 minutes later, crew on the Doña Paz were distracted by collecting fares from hidden passengers. Neither vessel had a working radar alarm. No warnings were exchanged. Suddenly, minutes before midnight, passengers glimpsed another ship's bow looming out of the darkness, floodlights burning. There was no time to react. At 11:45 p.m., disaster struck. The Vector rammed the Doña Paz's starboard side, slicing below the main passenger deck and spilling oil into the sea. The force cracked open Doña Paz's hull, tossing sleeping families from bunks. Water rushed through the lower decks. Metal shrieked as the vessel buckled. Panic exploded. Most passengers, trapped in corners or asleep, hadn't a chance. Power died. On deck, crew had no evacuation plan. Lifeboats were jammed or unreachable. Desperate, some leapt into oil-slicked waters. Fumes ignited from engine sparks, setting the sea ablaze. For many, the escape routes were cut off by fire. The Philippine Coast Guard received the distress call but initially thought it was a minor accident. Critical hours ticked by as the scale remained unclear. Rescue boats departed at dawn. The search zone was an oil-stained sea scattered with wreckage. Few survivors were found clinging to debris. By midday, fewer than 30 survivors were pulled from the sea, out of 4,000 aboard. The wreckage drifted toward shore, washing up grim evidence of the night. Grief spread on land. Families searched for names among the missing. The battered manifest, incomplete and chaotic, offered little hope of closure. A government inquiry quickly launched. The captain of the Vector was detained. Investigators interviewed both crews, searching for what went wrong. Questions zeroed in on 3 failings: the ferry's overload, missing safety plans, and lapses of navigation. Failures system-wide, not just on the bridge that night. Life-saving equipment was woefully short. The ferry sailed with only half of what was required by law. The Coast Guard, with limited means, had failed to enforce rules. Crew testimonies revealed exhaustion and skipped safety drills on both ships. Regulation, in practice, was more fiction than fact, a weakness carried by the whole maritime system. Legal wrangling began. Shipping firms tried to deflect blame. The death toll reached 4,000, the worst peacetime shipwreck of the 20th century. There was little comfort in the blame. Memorials dotted coastlines. For thousands of families, an entire generation vanished that night. For a nation, the disaster demanded deep changes to prevent history repeating. The sinking of the MV Doña Paz was much more than a single error. It was the sum of overloading, inexperience, missing equipment, and a regulatory system too fragile to save its own. Years later, the lesson remains. When small oversights stack up, the price is counted in thousands.